Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here today to do an astrology reading, my interpretation, my intuitive interpretation of what is taking place at this moment in time when it comes to this second Cancer new moon. It is a read for the collective rather than being an individual astrological read. So I'm going to start the read off with one of the Moonology cards here. I have pulled three out today to give an overall kind of view of what is taking place within the skies. We have the first card here, the new moon itself, which talks about starting something new. A new start is coming, as all new moons are. New starts, energy, fresh new beginnings. And then we have be bold and make the first move, which is a cardinal moon here, which, because it's in Cancer for the second time, it is again a cardinal moon. And lastly, you and your loved ones are safe, which really is the energy of Cancer. Cancer wants to be safe, they want to be secure. Their home is their place of sanctuary, it's their retreat, it's the place where they need to know that they are at their safest. So there is a lot of emotion again around this moon, and I will speak about this as I go through my astrology. And so the divine masculine, which is the sun, comes together to form a conjunction with the divine feminine, which is the moon, and together they form the conjunction which is the new moon period. So this is an interesting time, or an interesting new moon especially, as it's the second new moon in Cancer, and it's taking place at the very end of Cancer. Previously it was at the beginning, now it's at the very end. So it's at 28 degrees and 26 minutes, and in the UK it's taking place at 18:33 hours, and it's happening on the 20th of July. So you may want to check out your own natal chart as well, your personal chart, to see where this falls for you, where this new moon point 28 degrees of Cancer is, which house it's in for yourselves, because this will actually give you a more personal idea as to how it will influence you on a personal basis. Also, if you have any planets or points at this degree, the 28 degrees of Cancer, you will feel it even stronger than most of us, or anybody else who doesn't have those planets or points, but as well as in your opposite sign as well. So if you've got anything in Cancer round about kind of 20, I would say 25 degrees up to possibly moving just into the next sign of Leo for Cancer and Aquarius for Capricorn, anything between those points, and you could be feeling it very intensely. So the moon once more is in her home sign of Cancer, because she's ruled by Cancer, and she's feeling that safety and security once more tucked inside the space of the universal womb. Here the divine masculine and divine feminine are checking in together on what was started being created at the time of the previous new moon. So whatever it was that they were creating originally at that kind of first point of the zero mark for that new moon, which was also a solar eclipse as well. And one of the extra two eclipses we are getting in 2020, which is also an interesting factor. But the new moon took place on the 21st of June, solstice day previously. And the significance of that is, I believe personally, yet to really be seen for us, because an eclipse lasts about 6 months. And so I feel with the fact that we had this original new moon in Cancer at the 0 degree mark, and now it's at the 28 degree mark. It's like the second new moon energy is kind of building gradually whatever it was that was being created. And for me, what was being created at that time, as I wrote about in my previous blog and spoke about on the previous astrology video for the Cancer new moon at that time, is the unifying of the heart. So this is about the heart energy. It's about bringing the heart energy back to the center, back to where it should be, putting our focus and our attention into the heart space. So as that intense new moon partial eclipse just happened to take place at a powerful point of the zodiac as well, which was the 0 degree point, which is also known as the Axis Mundi, again on a world stage. Again, previously I wrote about that as well, so if you're interested, I will be putting a link to this blog, and it is referenced in that blog. So if you want to go and check that out, you can, if you haven't already, or watched the video for it, which will also be in the playlist under the new moons. So another important factor about the new moon solar eclipse was that the North Node had only just left the sign of Cancer. So for the last 18 months, our focus and our attention had very much been in the 4th house energy of Cancer, which kind of is all about the childhood, the home, the mother, the feminine, our emotional growth, gentleness, kindness, caring, nurturing, trusting our intuition, our past experiences, as well as the need to feel safe and secure. All these issues have been playing a major part in our lives. It is where we have been, figuratively speaking, kind of steering our ship, because the North Node is also kind of the North Star. It's where you point your attention and your focus. It's what we need to bring into our lives when the North Node is. Whichever sign the North Node is in is the energy that is going to be most at play at that time for those 18 months. And it has recently shifted into Gemini. But because we've had these 2 new moons in Cancer, our focus and our attention has once again kind of been brought back to the Cancer arena. Plus, we also had the solar eclipse, which was being eclipsed by the North Node. Although it was now in Gemini, it was still the North Node. So it was still about where are we heading, where are we going. And because it was in Cancer, it still kind of brought very much that energy of everything that Cancer and the 4th house stands for. All the, like I was just saying, you know, the home and the heart and all that kind of real nurturing, caring, kind stuff, which we need to kind of bring out for ourselves again at the time of this second new moon. Kind of bring the focus into ourselves, and it's kind of showing us our personal and collective destinies at the same time. So during this new moon, all that Cancer and 4th house energy is once again at the forefront. It is being brought back into our awareness and giving us a second chance to open our hearts and realign our masculine and feminine energies as we have both the sun and the moon together, just before we move into the second part of the year. As this is a new moon where the light from the sun is not shining on her, we may find ourselves wanting to withdraw from the outer world and turn inwards so that we can tune into the energy of our hearts, allowing ourselves to feel what it is that we are needing at this time, and to become aware of our heart's calling. This is a deeply intense emotional moon in Cancer. She is feeling everything on an incredibly subconscious level, much more than on the conscious. It is going to stir up a lot of deep, intense emotions, some of which may well have been covered up, buried, and glossed over or ignored for some time now. This could be due to the fact that both Venus and Mercury have been retrograde since May and June, and they have been re-evaluating, reassessing, reconsidering situations and our options in situations. And although they've both turned direct, they are still both in their shadow period. And Venus is going to be coming out of her shadow period when she reaches 20 degrees 50, which she'll be doing on July the 29th, so the end of the month. But she won't be leaving the sign of Gemini until further into August. And then just 3 days before Venus reaches her end of her shadow period, Mercury is also going to be doing the same thing, and he'll be reaching the 14 degrees and 46 minute mark on the 26th of July as well. So things may well start to move forward after this time, and it's probably a good idea at this time to kind of hold back on anything major, anything that's new coming into your life. If you can kind of hold it back and not kind of rush into anything at this time, because of the intensity of this emotion as well. And I will talk a bit more about that. So some of the strongest energy during this new moon is to be found in the opposition. Both the sun and the moon are in direct opposition to Saturn at 28 degrees 39 minutes, as well as opposing Pluto at 23 degrees and 37 minutes and Jupiter at 21 degrees and 30 minutes. So adding to all this kind of strictness of this energy as well, because Saturn is all about restricting, it's all about blocking that energy. So we may find ourselves also kind of wanting to move forward with things, but finding everything, like all our kind of pathways, blocked at this time as well. So we also have a trine that is being made with Neptune, who is now at 20 degrees and 45 minutes or 21 degrees to both the masculine and feminine. All the aforementioned planets are also in retrograde as well. So we're still in that retrograde energy. Things are still kind of being looked over, reevaluated, reassessed. Things are not really moving forward at this time. It's a time of deeper reflection, really. So this is not going to be an easy new moon. Saturn, planet of restriction, establishment, authority, structures, which are both the physical structures that we can see, as well as the metaphysical structures, the ones that we can't see, that we kind of restrict ourselves by. Systems of order, laws, governance, and long-term commitments is really going to be showing his influence, as lockdown and the rhetoric around what that means and why is once again going to be ramped up, well and truly ramped up. We are going to feel this extra squeeze around what is already a very highly intense, emotional and difficult situation. Especially when it comes to how people earn a living in order to sustain themselves and their families, so as to be able to feel that safety and security in our own homes that is craved by the sign of opposing Cancer. Nothing comes easily with Capricorn. Hard work and endeavour reaps its just rewards, but not if you are unable to do so. Now at this time, paradoxically, we could be feeling over-restricted, physically and emotionally trapped within the same four walls, whereas normally they would give us that sense of security. During this new moon period, we may be feeling more and more like they have become our personal prison cells. So with the restriction of Saturn coming in again, and because Saturn's moved back into his home sign of Capricorn. He's once again kind of putting the squeeze on everything and really kind of bringing it into a second kind of very powerful, restrictive time in our lives. We could really beginning to feel with this Cancer moon, we want to feel safe and we want to feel secure, and we want to know that our home is our sanctuary. Like I was saying earlier, you know, the Cancer energy is all about sanctuary, safety and security. But we could be finding that we're getting kind of the opposite feeling at this time. And it could cause some conflict as well. There could be conflict with that energy, because one part of us wants to feel that safety and security, and the other part of us could be saying, but you know, I'm so restricted by all this now. I just want to kind of break free from all of this, but we can't break free from it because Saturn is not allowing it at this time. So unfortunately, with Pluto still conjunct Saturn, we could also be feeling powerless to break free from the heaviness of this heavyweight duo, which could feel like a lot of burden being placed on our shoulders, literally like carrying or being responsible for the world. The Sun will continue to oppose Pluto until July 25th and Saturn until July the 30th. We are in for an interesting, if not a rough, but nonetheless, rough ride. As the Sun will continue highlighting and illuminating the shadow side of humanity for all those ready, willing and open to see it, the side that is kept in the underworld and hidden in the dark, Pluto energy, where all the dirty dealings take place and doesn't want to be exposed, again, Pluto energy. As it can truly only survive in the shadows and not in the glaring light of the Sun's brightness, and the Sun being opposite the energy of Pluto at this time, the Sun is kind of shining that glaring bright light into all that murky depths that's going on over there in Capricorn. At this time, however, we are not being able to actually act on our knowledge and understanding of what we're kind of realizing, the things that we're coming to see as being true that have maybe not been so obvious or apparent to us in the past. People are beginning to realize things are not necessarily as we've been told or led to believe. And because of this, all our sensitivities may be heightened to a deep level of compassion around what it is being revealed. So that, I feel, is also part of the process of this unification of the heart, and kind of an emotional intelligence that is growing within us all as we are kind of coming to more kind of higher realizations of things that are happening in the world outside, beyond our four walls as well. And so it is the unifying collective heart energy that is being stirred from within to help to bring us all together. And the Sun is going to cross over into Leo on July the 22nd at 09:37 hours UK time, which is 2 days after the new moon. And it will bring in a completely new and very different energy. The Sun is now at home. The Emperor has returned to his palace to set his house in order, and the lion could well start to roar. So whereas we've been kind of held back in Cancer, because it is much more about the feeling and the sensitivity and the actual kind of like just, feeling, really feeling, but not necessarily acting on those feelings. When the Sun moves into Leo, which is going to happen, which is going to kind of be the second half of this year, it's the herald of the second part of this year will be when the Sun moves into Leo. which is happening on the 22nd, as I said. Energy is going to change. The sun is in its home. It's Leo. It's the heart. It's courage. It's finding that strength from within. So there could be a lot more change within us as well on a deeper level. But as soon as the sun enters Leo, it is going to start making a square connection over to Taurus, where Uranus is sitting at 10 degrees and oh yes, sorry, 10 degrees. And also at the same time as he's making that square connection with Uranus, he's also still opposing both Saturn and Pluto as well. So we're still going to be in the opposition, and we're going to have a square energy with the sun as well. This transit with Uranus is going to go right through until August the 12th. And the 10th of August, or that beginning of that week in general, because we have the full moon taking place in Aquarius, the opposite side of Leo, on the 3rd of August. So from the 3rd of August, really, it's kind of, for me, the kind of starting point. But the 10th of August is going to be very, very hot energy. It's going to be really kind of like, I think I've written about this before, kind of handle with kid gloves type of energy. And I will write more about this in the full moon write-up that I will be doing, and I will be speaking more about it when I do the video for the Aquarius full moon as well, because for me, when I saw that energy that's coming up, it was just like, oh my god, I just want to run and hide. It's that kind of energy of like, take cover. Anything is possible. So from round about July the 22nd, when the when the sun does move into Leo, we could feel a lot of frustration because we know that change has to happen. We know that change has to be allowed to happen, and it's kind of being held back by this Saturn and Pluto opposition to the sun as well. But with this square to Uranus, it's like we know it's going to happen at some point, because this the trine, there is a trine between the energy of Uranus and the Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter, because Capricorn's earth sign, Taurus is earth sign, so there's trining energy happening there as well. So that is supportive energy. So it's like when the planets shift and when the sun gets out of that opposition that he will do with the two malefics as he moves further into the energy of Leo, that energy is going to shift and things are going to move, and I think they're going to move very, very fast. So we may feel a lot of frustration up until that time, because we know it's coming. We can feel it. We know it's there. It's kind of in the background of the energy, and we are very aware of it. And it's, you know, quite possible that the frustration is going to kind of really build up to that point as well. So coming back to this new moon, Jupiter has just reached 21 degrees and 30 minutes. And he did that on July the 16th. And he returned once more to the, he's at 21 degrees and 30th. But on July the 16th, he reached the 22 degrees because Jupiter's retrograde is still going beyond that point. I think it's going to go back to about 17 degrees before he turns retrograde and starts forward again. So again, still a long time before anything is kind of really going to be moving out of that Capricorn energy. And that has been ongoing and is going to continue to be ongoing right the way through until the end of 2020 into 21 as well. Anybody who's interested in taking a look at the blog, I will put it down below. I will link it for you, because I've also put on it a natal chart for the energy of the new moon, as well as a natal chart for that conjunction that took place with the Saturn and Pluto on the 12th of January, which I talk about all the time, because it is still ongoing and it is still really massive, and it's still really the biggest thing that is affecting everything long term. So you can go and look for yourselves and see how very little anything has changed, which is kind of what I'm heading towards talking about. So so the 22-degree mark was the point where Saturn and Pluto actually came together on the 12th of January. And Pluto is also steadily making its way back towards that spot, and it will actually station on that spot before it turns direct as well. So Pluto is once more going to kind of sit on the 22-degree mark of where that conjunction originally happened, before he too starts to move forward back the way to kind of eventually leave Capricorn energy, which isn't going to happen for a wee while yet, because Pluto moves so damn slowly. So we are still going to be feeling the effects of that ongoing conjunction, really. So for now, however, Pluto is still digging down deep into the very roots of that which Capricorn, 10th house, patriarchal, hierarchy, monarchy and corporations, foundations have all been built upon. That is all very Capricorn energy, all very 10th house Capricorn energy, which for so long have all seemed to be very solidly put together as well. But these foundations are being well and truly dug up. They're being deconstructed, reevaluated and scrutinised for the tiniest of flaws. And really that's what Pluto is doing. Pluto kind of digs down and down and down and down. And he's already been across that point once, and he's now going over that point for the second time. Like I said, he's going to stop at 22 and then he's going to go back again. So he's really digging down deep. Just kind of making sure that he's not missing anything that needs to be changed and transformed. So during this period, while all this is happening, while Pluto's doing this, we personally may also feel that our own lives are being kind of dug up, scrutinised and looked at for flaws within ourselves and within our lives itself as well. And so we're bringing these things up to the surface at this time so that we too can allow ourselves to let them go, to remove them, the things that are no longer working for us in a way of growth and movement forward into something better. And it's also about recognising our own deeper hidden flaws. Process of bringing us to a realisation of the gaping differences within the systems themselves, the two-tiered structure that works best for those who have the power, Pluto, and sadly not for those who don't. Pluto is still also in that long-standing square with Eris. Aries, it's at the end or around about 24 degrees of Aries. So the Aries energy I have spoken about before. It is the kind of unwanted female, the kind of she was known in the Greek as well, in Greek she was known as Eris, but in the Roman she was known as Discordia, because she was the goddess who would just disrupt everything. She was the disruptive energy that kind of would ruin a good party just for the sake of it, just because she liked seeing disharmony. So this disruptive energy around is going to be felt, I feel, because it's taking place within Aries. It's going to be felt around the rights of the sovereign will versus that of the corporations as well. So it's going to be an ongoing battle that really has only just begun, because Pluto and Eris are going to be squared off again right the way through until the end of 2020. So we've got another 6 months of this Pluto squaring Eris, and we are going to see a lot more kind of people out in the streets. That's the kind of Eris energy of speaking how we feel, kind of really getting that emotion out there, whether it's used for a positive or whether it's used for the negative. It's kind of like there is going to be this ongoing battle, because this ongoing battle is literally between Pluto and Eris, but also Saturn, who's going to be moving into that space as well, is also going to be kind of squaring up to Eris. So it's just going to get more intense, I think, over this next 6 months. And I feel this kind of new moon, second new moon in Cancer, is giving us a kind of indication of the intensity. And interestingly, we will see at this time Jupiter is in the same place now during this new moon as the Sun was as well on January the 12th. So while the Sun opposes the trio of Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter, the energy of that conjunction is once more being brought back into the present energy. This for me is the second wave that is being spoken about so strongly at this time. As Neptune, the planet of the mysterious, unknown, unseeable realm, as well as the illusionary and delusional, continues to confuse and cloud the energy. Neptune has only moved just over 0.3 degrees since January. It has recently also turned retrograde and is heading back towards the 18 degree spot, where she will eventually station direct. And that won't happen until, I think it's the end of November, beginning of December, I think, when Neptune turns direct. So again, a long period of time of this energy still to come. At the time of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, Neptune was at 16 degrees 31, so she was only kind of 1.5 degrees away from where she was originally when she stations direct. And because she has such a wide orb of influence anyway, because she's such a large planet, she is still technically covering the same spot. So her energy itself has not moved on from that 16 degree mark. Even though she's reached the 20 degree mark of Pisces, her energy is still there at that same spot, covering that 16 degree point, which is kind of all mixed in with the pandemic and the crumbling tower that's happening around us, and everything that we thought of as being very solid kind of isn't really as real as we once believed it to be on many levels. And I'm talking about our kind of, you know, our reality when it comes to our day-to-day doing things, of just kind of getting up and getting ready to go to work and going out the door and going to our workplaces and doing the things that we do in order to earn the money, and kind of like, you know, all of that has just kind of been blown apart, really. And this is all part of the Saturn-Pluto influence as well. And what is also giving this Neptunian energy a boost at this time, which is why I think you're going to hear a lot more about the pandemic itself, because Neptune rules that energy. She rules the unseen, she rules plagues themselves, she rules things that have no boundaries. So there's going to be a lot more kind of rhetoric coming out, a lot more kind of fear pushing as well around all of this. And one of the reasons that that is happening, because she is making trines at this time with both the sun and the moon as well. So that sense of confusion and not really knowing what's going on with the moon, because the moon can be very kind of mysterious in herself as well. The moon can kind of have that energy of not really, you know, of not really being able to grasp something. It can be a little bit, like we're saying, mysterious, and energy of kind of holding secrets as well. Things not being as they appear to be, you know, especially at the time of a dark moon, because there is no light. We have no light because the sun is no longer shining on the moon. So we just have this kind of, you know, this energy where we aren't able to see clearly. Things are not as clearly visual to us, in the sense of on emotional level, we could get very confused with how we are actually feeling. Because if you think of being out at night under a dark sky, when there's no lights around at all, it's like, you know, you see things, or you think you see things, and you don't really know if what you think you see is actually there. So there can be this really kind of confusing energy, and add that to the Neptune energy as well, and you've got a kind of recipe for real confusion. And while I was writing this, the expression that kept coming into my head was, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And I think it's very appropriate at this time as well, because who do we trust? Who do we trust? And ultimately, I think it is saying, because it's Cancer, it's intuitive, it's the moon, it's saying trust your own feelings and your own instincts. Don't necessarily listen to everything that's going on out there, because Neptune is also about the media as well, on a kind of bigger basis, shall we say. It is about, you know, what we're fed, and that we can be lied to, or we can be manipulated through the media as well, which are all very Neptunian energies. So as I was saying, below is the horoscope chart of January the 12th. So if anybody's interested, I will put this in my blog, or my blog link there, so you can check that out for yourselves. But it's a picture of the natal chart, and it shows where the Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn and Pluto were on the 12th of January. They were all in Capricorn at the time of that conjunction, and Neptune was still sextile all that energy, as she is today as well. So again, that's another reason why, and I think it was either it was the full moon that we just did, I think the full moon that we just had, full moon in Capricorn, and I think I wrote about that being kind of like deja vu, And I really do feel that it's going to be, although it's going to be more intense and it's going to be a lot more fiery and passionate energy coming up, it is kind of like a deja vu in the sense of we are going to kind of relive the whole scenario in some ways all over again, but this time it's going to have more, I would say it's going to have more direct interaction with us on an individual level, whereas before I feel it's been more on a collective scale. Now I think it's going to become more kind of individual focused. So a very quick interesting side story to do with Greek mythology was that Neptune was known as Poseidon, and Neptune is in her home sign as well, which is Pisces, the 12th house, which is symbolically the fishes and water. So Neptune, Poseidon, and he was the ruler of the seas. He was the brother of both Pluto, better known as Hades in Greek, and ruler of the who was the ruler of the underworld. Pluto was given the underworld to rule over, and Jupiter, who was Zeus, the god, the top god. He ruled over the lands. So you had the underworld of Pluto, you had the world, the overworld of Jupiter or Zeus, and you had the seas that were owned or ruled over by Poseidon. And their father was Saturn, who in Greek was known as Kronos. And so we see all of them connecting and working together. And it just kind of looked to me like one big kind of family reunion, this ongoing family reunion where they've all kind of come together at this time, which is interesting because Cancer is also very much about the family, and Capricorn is opposite the Cancer energy. And also we had the South Node in Capricorn energy that we need to get rid of, and the North Node was in Cancer, which was the energy we were heading towards for the last 18 months previous to that. While the conjunction took place, the South Node was in Capricorn. Again, I have done videos on that as well where I talk about that. But the North Node has moved into Gemini, which it did in May, and the South Node is now in Sagittarius because the nodes always move in reverse as well. So here in the last sign of the zodiac, Neptune is helping us to let go of all the unwanted, unneeded, burdensome pressure of the Capricorn history we have accumulated over the last 800 years. And I say the last 800 years because that was the last time that all these planets were together in the sign of Capricorn. You have to go back to 800 years ago to find that combination. So that's a lot of history. And if you go back to that time, you're going back to the 12th century, and it was a time of the Crusades, holy wars, a time of serfdom, of plenty for those who had already and very little for those who didn't. A time of controlling the masses with ideology and fear, mixed with superstition, ignorance, and belief in the monarchical system of governance. And as we look around today, we may well ask, has anything really changed? Yes, it has become much more sophisticated, but on a fundamental level, when you strip all that away, here now in the 21st century, we are still living in the same controlled hierarchy, ruled over by those who believe they still have the birthright to do so. Neptune is telling us it's time to surrender and dive into the deeper mystery that is unfolding within us, that is beyond all the man-made limiting structures of our lives. As she makes this trine across to both the divine masculine and the divine feminine, she is reminding us to trust our soul, our spirit, our higher conscious, aware self. That part of us intuitively knows we are so much more than just the physical body, through which we experience the lessons of life, in order to grow and evolve beyond where we have yet been. It is also this part of us that has been kept shut out, locked down by a series of mass hypnotic and induced measures, some of which have been enforced on us over the centuries for our own good. Neptune also rules the dream world, the deep subconscious subliminal world. And at this time, we could be feeling like we are under mass hypnosis, living in a surreal existence. As certain powers are losing their grip, the old war tactic of divide and conquer becomes more apparent. This is the split in the road, the choice of two realities. The dream of the new or the nightmare of the old, like the symbol of Pisces itself, two fish swimming in opposite directions. We are being asked at this time, which are you ready to take? Neptune is the dissolving of the I, that separation of ourselves through the concept of the dualistic beliefs we are given, conditioned into, for generations down the line. It is the transcending and releasing of all that we have learnt to be our reality. In our chronological time on this planet, this 12th house energy represents old age, when the physical body is preparing itself to shake off its mortal coil and return once more to the source of all that is, all that has ever been, and all that is yet to come. This source is ultimately the highest octave of unconditional love. The world is changing. We can already sense and feel it on a deeper level of knowing. Everything we consider normal is falling apart and transforming. This second wave is like a second hit at the already crumbling tower. The structures we have built up around ourselves on a metaphysical, meaning beyond the physical, which I kind of alluded to earlier, being the things that we kind of buy into, a metaphysical kind of level of understanding, the crutches that keep everything propped up, that we have all somehow agreed to without even realising that they exist, due mainly to them having been there since our birth. So they're the kind of structures, the things that we are born into, that have been there for so long that we just kind of accept them as being our reality. This is just how it is, because it's how we understand it's always been. And this, I'm talking more about the kind of mindset rather than the actual physical structures. It's kind of the mindsets of how we're kind of bought into these things through education, especially conditioning. We have been conditioned, educated and moulded into believing a reality that is to all intent and purposes to our eyes made from solid matter. Ultimately, everything is energetic in its true form, and this is a massive part of the awakening we are experiencing at this time. Another super strong energy affecting us at this time is the Mercury, 08 degrees 41 minutes or 9 degrees in Cancer, square with Mars at 12 degrees 49 minutes or 13 degrees in Aries. Mars could have us wanting to overreact to what we are feeling. As we are already going to be emotionally intensely sensitive, we could find ourselves lashing out verbally, communicating impulsively without thinking through the consequences first. Particularly conjunction particularly so as Mercury is also in a sextile with Uranus at 10 degrees 25 minutes in Taurus. Mars is in a conjunction with Chiron, who recently turned retrograde and is now at 9 degrees 24 minutes in Aries, and also square to Mercury. So we have, just go through this again, we have Mercury sextiling with Uranus in Taurus, and Mars is conjuncting with Chiron, who is also square to Mercury. So this is an energy of unexpected healing that could happen due to some outbursts of real emotions, when someone can no longer hold back on their feelings, but it could come across initially as negative outcomes. This energy could be seen taking place in long-lasting, possibly generational situations, past life, karmic relationships, some within family groups that could cause huge ructions, as the rebellious energy of Uranus is also in semi-sextile to Mars as well. So Uranus is kind of really the rebel, the maverick, the kind of sudden, unexpected energy which could change things very fast and very quickly. And so at this period, during this new moon, we may also want to kind of withdraw from those kind of situations, from not getting dragged into them or pulled into things that are going to have long-lasting effects as well. But if we do kind of find ourselves erupting because we've kind of suppressed these feelings and these emotions, which I will also talk about, then we need to kind of retreat away from it rather than feed it. And it says, I do see this as a healing energy, which is kind of really what's coming through for me most strongly within this dynamic, is that there is a healing process taking place here. But not before the hot-headedness of Mars has caused a lot of eruptions, which are very, very possible at this time. And they will make or break certain situations as well. We also have to be aware that not everything that appears negative to us is necessarily so, even though after it may feel painful and sad, and in retrospect have us questioning whether or not we could have expressed our feelings in a kinder and more gentle manner. Sometimes we need to be open and honest with how we are actually feeling. And if we have not acknowledged this to ourselves, this mix of planets has a way of forcing this to the surface. And I think that's really the crux of it, is that this could be a situation where we just kind of erupt, our feelings just kind of come out without us having any filter on what we're expressing. And it could have long-lasting effects as well. This energy has the potential to clear out some old and stagnant energies and bring in sudden, possibly shocking change. That's the Uranus energy. Which could in itself also allow a healing to take place on a deeper level, which could also bring in new growth as well. So although if that does happen, it may feel as though it's a very kind of, out of your hands situation, that what's said, you can't take it back. It doesn't mean that you won't be experiencing a release somehow, or making space for new growth to occur, because you've kind of let something go. Finally, something has been kind of removed. As I also feel there is a really strong need here to also clear the past. So this is about clearing out that energy that has become stagnant and is no longer helping us to kind of grow or to feed anything on an emotional level as well. There's a lot of kind of emotional baggage, shall we say, here. which needs to be got rid of in order to allow ourselves to kind of move forward, to grow and to flourish. Venus, now at 15 degrees and 26 minutes in Gemini, is in a sextile to Mars, and she is part of that growth. The feminine and the masculine are in supporting energies in this journey. Venus, however, is also in square with Neptune. So Venus is kind of seen more as our lower love, if you like, lower kind of energy of love, how we express our love on a physical, sexual, kind of desiring kind of way, whereas Neptune is more the higher octave of Venus. It's the unconditional love, the love that comes from a greater source beyond ourselves, a spiritual love, which can also be found within the physical realm as well. Don't get me wrong, it can also be found within the physical realm. It's not always present in physical relationships, and often it's something that we kind of turn inward, or we turn to something above or beyond that physical energy to kind of bring in that love as well. But there is a possibility here of getting swept up and carried away by actions that you may later come to regret. As in the clear light of the day, what may have seemed like a dream coming true could turn into one of those messy nightmares that you can't escape from. Caution is needed, as attraction, especially physically, could be very easily succumbed to during this new moon period. And the new moon period lasts for a fortnight as well. It's kind of right from the new moon up until the full moon. That energy is still there. And in fact, it can even go beyond to the next new moon as well. So if we're feeling vulnerable during this period of time as well, and looking for kind of distractions from ourselves, and kind of looking within ourselves and finding our own heart center, we could also be very kind of easily caught up with somebody who could show up as a very kind of silver-tongued, passionate charmer, who may, be either male or female. It makes absolutely no difference. But it's an energy of kind of being careful that you don't bite off more than you kind of are emotionally able to deal with at this time. As Venus is still in her shadow period, up until, like I was saying, the end of this month in Gemini. And because it's in Gemini, we could also still see some of that kind of trickster energy, which I've also spoken about in my previous videos as well. The kind of Gemini energy is very much that dual side of a personality, the kind of magician energy or the trickster energy. And because of the way that everything is with Neptune and new moon and Venus and Mars is also just getting ready to enter his shadow period as well, 15 degrees, and he's only, I think, about 2 degrees away or 3 degrees away from that mark himself at this time. It could very easily, kind of happen that you end up getting caught up in a situation that you can't extract yourself from too easily, with kind of a lot of confusion. So Mars is the ruler of the first house, the house of action and doing. It relates to the base chakra, which is red, connected with our blood, our DNA, our drive, our passion, our survival in the world, as well as our courage and our bravery. which we may find we will have to face over these coming 6 months. And I think, as I was saying, that this is going to become more individual related. I think we are going to have to kind of find our courage and our bravery and kind of dig down deep. Mars is going to be going retrograde, and he is going to be retrograde in his own sign for the next 4 months once he turns retrograde, which won't be until the end of, I think it's about August, that he finally goes retrograde, but he's already going to be entering into his shadow period as well. So this energy also relates to how we enter the world, as it is strongly relates to not only our sexual energy, but also to the genitalia itself. It also therefore relates to the newborn and our very early years of development in the environment we are born into. That's all kind of first house energy, particularly new. So Mars is now in his home of the first house. So there are lots of new things kind of coming into being, kind of a birthing process, if you like, but at this time it's not actually ready. That energy isn't ready. So lastly, I want to talk about Lilith, the dark, sinister and suffering energy of the toxic world we don't like to see or acknowledge. At this Cancer new moon, she is at 19 degrees 39 minutes, more or less 20 degrees, in Aries. And she's making a square, or making squares, with both the Sun and the Moon, as well as Pluto and Jupiter. Lilith is going to be playing a very significant role from the time of this new moon up until the middle of August, which is going to have all our attention on the Aries first house energy and Capricorn 10th house from now until the end of 2020. So that's really where all the action is going to be taking place during the last 6 months of 2020. It's all kind of going to be focused very, very much on the energy of Aries and the energy of Capricorn, which is a square energy. Aries and Capricorn square each other, which is not an easy energy. And as I've said before, 2020 is the number 4. It is a squaring, challenging energy in itself. We have had so many squares this year. It is just unbelievable, the amount of challenging energy that we are being pushed into and forced into at this time. It's kind of the universe is just kind of forcing this growth, this huge growth, but it's kind of being done through a process of real difficulty, of making things as difficult as possible in order for that growth to take place. And so at this time of the new moon, with this energy of Lilith, things are going to really be stirred up from the depths. Oh, and I do just want to say as well that when the Sun moves into Leo, it will also be trining the energy in Aries as well. So that will also be adding that little extra oomph, shall we say, during the season of Leo. So things are being stirred up from the depths. These are the creatures that thrive in the darkness of the underbelly of the deepest, most depraved world in which they function. This is all Lilith energy. In a world most of us could not imagine, visiting in our scariest places of our night's terrors. A world that only exists within the boundaries of horror movies, or so we would like to believe. These creatures are being put on high alert. Sun, Moon, Pluto and Jupiter are letting them know their game is up. Their time is coming to a swift end, and because of this, we may see many suicides occur within the realm of those who believe themselves to be untouchable over these coming weeks and months. Some will be genuine and some will be questionable. But that's the kind of Lilith energy that is going to be stirring up. It's going to really it's really going to bring up some things that people are not going to want to look at, things that people are just not going to want to accept or believe or even imagine as being possible, because that is Lilith energy. It's dark, it's toxic, but it needs to be recognized. And because it's in the first house of Aries as well at this time, I will just say that it could well relate to a lot of sexual issues, as well as a lot to do with children. So during this new moon in Cancer, we would do well to let ourselves off the hook emotionally and prepare ourselves for what is yet to come. Give ourselves time to return to the inner sanctuary of the heart and find stillness, peace and compassion for ourselves. Because if we can find it within ourselves, if we can find that space and that place within ourselves, then we can find it within the bigger outer world. And I feel very strongly over this next 6 months, this is the place that we're going to need to kind of return to over and over again. So I'd just like to read the Sabian symbols here for the 28-degree point of Cancer. And it's about an Indian girl, and I presume by this it means Native American Indian girl, who introduces her white lover to her assembled tribe, which is quite significant at this time, interestingly. So it says, keynote is inner rebirth through a total acceptance of the primordial values manifest in the human body and its natural functions. Even as this symbol was formulated in the clairvoyant's mind, a few individuals belonging to the American intelligentsia were trying to find in their absorption into the culture of the Indian pueblos of the Southwest a solution to their intellectual artificiality and personal emotional emptiness. So basically what it's saying is they went there to find kind of some spiritual awakening that they didn't have within their outer life at that time. 50 years later, this process has gained great momentum, especially among the disenchanted youth of our affluent middle class. The soul, or in Jungian terms, the anima, is leading the sophisticated and colourless white, in brackets, intellect to a level of consciousness. And it says colourless, and white is colourless. It isn't a colour because it contains all colours within it. So that's what it means by that expression there. So, to a level of consciousness at which man can again operate in tune with the vast process of the biosphere and recover the simplicity and the inner peace which city life and business deny. At this third stage of the 24th five-fold sequence, the situations presented in the two preceding symbols can be seen combined and projected into a possibility of dramatic transformation. What is shown here is an emotional and warm commitment to the return to nature, which today appeals so strongly to the new generation, but which Jean-Jacques Rousseau, many great romanticists, and Gauguin long ago advocated and exemplified. And so it is kind of saying, you know, we do need to return to that natural point within ourselves as well, and our connection to everything through, for me, through the source of oneness, through that sense of everything being connected, of there not being any separation between us and what we see. And so I've also put up the 23rd degree point of Capricorn, as the conjunction took place at 22 degrees and 46 minutes. It is therefore considered to be the next degree. So rather than putting the 22 degree point up, which is the major point, but the 23, because at 22 degrees 46 point is the degree that it would be considered under. So the keynote here, first of all, it says that it's a soldier receiving 2 awards for bravery in combat, which I thought was quite interesting itself as well, because it was all about Saturn and Pluto. And so the reward offered by society for the fulfillment of individual responsibility, which is kind of very much what this energy is about. In fact, it is about kind of maturity, a growing up and taking personal responsibility, which those that have governed for so long do not want us doing. So the fact that 2 awards are emphasised makes us believe that this may refer subtly to the recognition by the community that whether he succeeded or failed, an individual who discharged his duty nobly under unusual circumstances is entitled to the respect and appreciation of the collectivity he served so well. What is implied here is a constant give and take between society and the individual person. Each one should be able to trust the other. The third symbol of the 59th fivefold sequence extracts, as it were, a common element from the 2 preceding scenes. The key word here is recompense, i.e. a compensation for a well-done performance, a balancing of accounts, which I find really, really fitting for the fact that that's really what this conjunction has been about, because Saturn is the lord of karma, so it is a kind of balancing of our historical karma as well. And I have left a link here for anyone who's interested in looking into the Sabian symbols and finding out more about what they are about. And so that is the end of my astrology reading. I was going to just quickly try and pull a crystal card for the overall energy of this new moon and see what the crystals would like to say to us, which is the crystal that is most beneficial for ourselves at this time to support us and to help us with the energies that we're going to be working with. A card, please, universe. A card for the energies at this time of the new moon. What are the energies here for this new moon? A crystal for this new moon, please. Crystal for the new moon. Nothing? Okay. I'm just going to cut the deck and see what we get. So we got Dioptase, card of courage, which is interesting because, like I was saying, Leo energy coming up, courage, and also Aries energy as well, fire energy, courage of the heart, courage of our inner being. Quickly read it. It is about heart. Dioptase says it's relates to the heart chakra, and its colour is green, although it may look very black in that there. That's slightly better. It is a very, very, very dark green. And so it says, before you can manifest the courage of your convictions, you must be sure what your convictions are. If you are confused about your priorities, allow us to help you. It is our privilege to help you go deep into your heart, to find what special dream moves you, what sacred belief system guides your life. Your conscious beliefs and judgments are impressions you have internalized from your environment. Your soul's true belief system has developed over the eons of time. Experiences working with divine consciousness have helped you create your own internal code of ethics. This code has travelled with you through the corridors of space and time, adding new information as you learned and grew. It is not easy to stand up for and act upon your convictions. There will also be those who will criticise, taunt, and even persecute you for your beliefs. But it is the way of your soul. Your inner voice is reminding you what is necessary to maintain your integrity, to stay on your path. Why have you drawn the Dioptase card today? Are you trying to gather the courage to make an important decision in your life? Or perhaps you may be searching for courage to confront someone about an uncomfortable issue. Do you find that each day it takes more and more courage to keep functioning in an unkind world? Why do you especially need courage at this time? Regardless of your particular issue, we will help you find the courage to speak your truth and walk your talk. Courage is within you, even though it may be hidden by uncertainty or fear. Together, you and we will travel through fear's shadowy corridors and illuminate them with confidence and hope. Trust us to walk with you and support you in your resolve. Do you have a choice about whether this is a time to take action or not? You always do. The great Creator has provided you with free will. Whenever you decide to make your journey, we will be here to assist you. Courage is a gift of the universe to the human kingdom to help you deal with challenges on the earth plane. The heart chakra is the translation point for the universal energy to infuse the physical vehicle. Accept this incredible gift and use it to expand yourself. Look deeply into your green essence, into our green essence, and let it activate your spark of courage. Consider it to be your green light for go. You can accomplish whatever you set out to your higher self. Your internal guide is brave and strong. Our calm and serene energy is designed to balance you so that your higher self can speak and be heard above fear, doubt, and denial. Our soul touches into yours with a gentle, soothing comfort that assures you that you are loved and supported by so many beings in the universe. At the same time, we energize and motivate you to take whatever steps are necessary for your highest good and for that of the whole. Stand up for what you believe in and believe in yourself. Your heart will show you the right course. Your bravery brightens and enhances our world. Your courage to act on behalf of all beings everywhere sets into motion an energy wave that spreads throughout the universe. We are all one. We are all connected. The plants, the animals, the minerals, the humans, all energy is tied together. We are interdependent and responsible for the well-being and health of the universe. We honour your work on the planet. Do your part with a glad and brave heart. Blessings upon you. We are there for you. Do not doubt it. So, Dioptase. Maybe we all need to get ourselves some of this, because I really do feel that this is speaking about what's coming up for us over the next 6 months. And it's quite interesting that this card should come out, because I was kind of talking about courage and how we are going to need the courage of our convictions to stand up individually. And when we stand up individually, we will stand up collectively as well. And so I would like to leave this reading at that point today and say thank you very much to anybody who has watched my videos. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you also if you have liked my videos. Please could you like my videos up, because it does get them out onto a bigger world stage as well. So if you are watching my video, could you just thumbs it up for me, because I would like my messages to get out there, because they're not just my messages, they're messages that come through to me, which I kind of then put out there for yourselves. I am an intuitive tarot reader as well. For those of you who don't know, I have over 30 years experience, and I've also been interested in astrology since I was like 12 years old when I read my first astrology book. So it's kind of been there as a part of me for a very long time. And although I don't class myself in any way, shape or form as a professional astrologer, I do kind of understand the energies of the planets. So again, I would like to say thank you very much. If you have enjoyed my video, please thumbs it up. Please tap the bell in order to get the videos that I will be putting out in the future as well. Full moon, new moon videos, and all of the zodiac signs as well. So please come back to my channel. You are very welcome. And if you have enjoyed my video, could you also please comment, because it is really nice just to get some feedback from you who are watching it, and kind of whether or not you resonate with it or not, or whether you kind of, you know, want to pick it apart, whatever. Just please leave me a comment so that I can kind of get some feedback. It's very, very helpful. And on that note, I'm going to say I hope you all have a very wonderful new moon period from now up until the full moon. I hope things run smoothly for you and you find some peace within yourselves at this time. Please take care.